fishing. People, when you're in the mood, let's go fishing. Well, it's just me and you. Head on down to the fishing hole. Grab your hat, get your pole. Let's go fishing when you're in the mood.
Canadian sport fishing has been brought to you in part by Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Yamaha, Conquer Outdoors. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Bait Cloud, bring the fish to you. Easy Docker, docking made easy. This is amazing. You know, I'm here in Newfoundland. We landed in Gander, and we took off on the water out of Centerville, which is where Glenn Midas, the famous boat builder, builds the Seabreeze and Pro Sports boats. See if I can get this guy in the boat. Look at. Is that a quality-looking cod? You know what? It's not just the experience of being out here, out on the Atlantic, and hooking these fish one right after the other. You can keep fish, and I'm going to be taking some fish back home with me to enjoy with Barb and the grandkids. They're such good eating when you get them fresh. That's a really nice fish.
Really nice fish.
Gorgeous fish. Look at that. Beautiful.
That's 2 feet plus,
Oh, yeah,
26, 28 inches actually.
Gorgeous fish.
Yeah, nice fish.
I thought the captain was supposed to let the guests catch some of the nicer fish. What's with that?
They like my hook today for some
He
reason.
said, you go to Newfoundland, they let you catch the biggest fish and
They do,
everything.
yeah. Yeah.
Are you going to cook some of these up today?
Yeah, we're going to do the traditional fish and brews, Newfoundland style fish and brews.
Good. Do I have to kiss it now or later?
We'll kiss it later.
Okay.
When it's not, it's a nice
Do you have something that you can disinfect your mouth with after the kiss?
No, we won't need to do that.
I love traveling all over the world, especially across Canada. And one of my favorite places to visit on the East Coast is Newfoundland. It's amazing because it's isolated. It's called the Rock. It's an island, and you either have to take a ferry there or you have to take a plane there. The only challenge is if you take a plane, I don't like going through major airports like Toronto in Southern Ontario. For example, on this trip, there's so many people lining up. They have the kiosks, and it's a little bit overwhelming, especially if you have a lot of gear. You know, sometimes I carry the fishing rods with me on the plane. Sometimes I have a very large tube, and whenever you have things that are bigger and that need special care, it takes longer. So that in itself takes a few hours. And then in this case, we connected through Halifax, Nova Scotia, and the one thing there was our flight was delayed a few hours. So we kind of sat around and stuff. It's okay, but when you're all excited to go to a destination, you have to wait, it kind of takes away from the thrill. But we finally made it to Gander, where we had our good friend Glenn Midas meet us and put all our gear in, and then we were off right across Newfoundland. Glenn, did I tell you that your boats are really comfortable to fish out of?
Lots of space in them, isn't it?
Yeah, and we ran, how many miles are we out from shore?
We're about 18 miles from shore here now.
Yeah, no problem handling the Atlantic, that's for sure.
No.
Tell you what, these are good-sized fish, Glenn. Look at the jigs we're using. This is about a 4 5-ounce jig. You can see that it's pretty heavy. It's got a bit of a curvature with a big-ass hook. That's because these fish are really aggressive. Then I've got a snap swivel on there, and look, I've got one of those Go Fish Cam cameras because I'm trying to capture some nice hits and fights from the fish. And all we're doing is just lowering it to the bottom. Glenn's using electronics in the boat, so he knows exactly where the pinnacles are. Oh, just missed one. That's how fast the action is. That was right on the drop again. So I'm letting my line back out because I lifted it up about 5 to 10 feet. And you don't have to jig hard. Good fish. Look at these head shakes. See, that's when they roll in the line, kind of like a steelhead. And a lot of times they get off because they throw that treble. You can see even now he's rolling. They try to roll in the line like that. So once you get them up, you know, 30, 40 feet, they don't fight that hard. Glenn, is this one of those rock cod?
That's
what
what it
a little
is.
bit different? It's a different color, eh?
Oh, different
They're like
looking
a softer,
fish.
yeah.
With the colors, for
I'm
sure.
gonna put the camera down for a second here, just so you can have a look at it. Still a very nice fish. Look at, beautiful fish. You know, when it comes to jigging, either on the Pacific coast or the Atlantic coast, it really helps to have a proper jigging outfit. Most jigging rods are shorter, and most of those rods are equipped with some kind of a level wind, or what we call a boat reel. What I've got in my hands here, this is actually a trolling reel made by Rapala, but it works really good for bottom fishing as well. You can see it's pretty compact in size. The reason I brought this little one is because I knew we were going to be fishing less than 300 feet of water. So with 80-pound test, I probably have about 500 feet of line on here. These reels are very simple to use. You can see that it's got a very large handle, so it's very easy to grab. So what you do is just reel the line up. When you're ready to release it, pull the lever back, which releases the line. Then the line goes down. As soon as you turn the handle, you'll see that the lever goes forward. Now it's in the locked position. It has a big star drag, which is very easy to use. If you go counterclockwise, it loosens the drag. If you go clockwise, it tightens the drag. The other knob that's here is a tension knob. So this tension knob here, if you loosen it, the line comes off the reel easier. If you tighten it, there's a little bit of tension. Having a reliable Rapala RSC level wind reel is ideal because you can fish really fast and have fun all day long. Closed captioning is brought to you by K100. We make water burn.
Not as big as the other ones, but it seems to be a decent size. The keeper.
Glenn, they're all good. What do you mean?
Oh,
That's a nice size fish.
That is a nice size fish. Oh,
Good
yeah.
job.
This is the same, roughly, the run that we're catching today. It's a nice fish.
You know, they all look healthy. That's what I like. Gorgeous fish.
Nice, eh?
Yep.
All right, another one for the box, Italo.
Yep. Glenn had a fish on. I hadn't dropped down yet because I turned my Go Fish cam on, and he said, drop it down, so we'll get double headers. As soon as it got to the bottom, double header. Right, so there you go. Not only do I have a fish, I have your line, Glenn. Oh. So let me get mine up, and hopefully yours is still on. Let me see if I can squeeze this guy here. I'm gonna put him in the box. How come you're getting all the big ones?
You like my hook better? This is a dandy.
Oh, yeah. Nice fat fish. What are they feeding on out here, Glenn?
They're feeding on all bait fish this time of year. The bays are full of capelin and all small species of fish, and that's what they're eating.
Will they eat squid?
Oh, they'll eat squid, yeah. Yeah, wow. They'll eat anything.
Yeah. If you're planning on doing any serious jigging in saltwater for fish anywhere from a few pounds right up to several hundred pounds, and in any depth of water up to 500 feet, you really should have a proper jigging outfit. So you should have a medium to heavy action level wind reel that you can put lots of heavy line, like 80-pound, even up to 200-pound test. I prefer to use braid because it's limp and you can get it down into deep water really quick. And also have a very stout, stiff rod that's short. Most of these jigging rods have a longer butt, which is ideal when you're fighting a big fish. You know, that can be really stressful, where you can put the butt underneath your armpit or even put it against your body. And you can see also that they have the grooves in the bottom, which are designed to go into a fighting belt or even in a rod holder. The other feature that I really like is having tight and lots of guides. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a tip. 8 guides over 5 feet will give you lots of torque, especially when you're using heavy line and you're trying to slow down a big fish. Also, the stiffness is ideal because when you're down over 100 feet, up to 500 feet, when you do get a hit, if the rod is stiff and you're using a braided line, you're going to get a really good hook set. You're going to get the fish in the boat and in the box, and then either in the pan or in the freezer.
They're plentiful here now. When you can't get to the bottom and they're biting like 2 of us at a time. Unreal, isn't it?
It just happens all the time.
It happens all the time, yeah.
You know, this could spoil you. Can you believe, Glenn, that there are times when they don't catch a fish on every cast?
Yeah. It's hard to believe here today, isn't it? Very hard to believe. But it's all different sizes, like you say. It's from small to medium to large,
right?
right?
Yeah.
And you don't know what's coming next.
Let's see if it stays on. Man, it's rolling.
Oh, wow.
It's about the size of yours?
Yeah, that's a dandy.
No, it's not. It's not the size of yours.
Well, not quite, but he's fat one. He's fatter than mine.
Look at what a nice fish.
Nice fish. Just about 28 inches long.
You know what?
He's giving
me a bit of strain on my arm.
Yep, they're heavy fish.
Okay, are we going to put it back down?
Put her back down. Let's get another one. There's lots of them there.
You think I might get another hit?
I think you will.
Like now, right away?
Pretty plentiful.
Okay,
I'd say you won't get to the bottom.
I'm letting it down. I'm down 30. I'm down 42. That's nice about the counter reel, eh? 60. What are we at? Right there. It's going to be boom. Let's see if you're right. Because we're off the actual
We're starting
point.
to get off the marks, but you're at the tail end of it.
I just had a hit, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah. They're definitely on where the fish are.
There you go. See?
You know, this can get hard on your shoulders and arms, eh?
I know.
Look at, I see that spoon. Man, are they healthy.
Go. Another nice fish.
They're gorgeous fish.
Not quite as big as your last one, but it's still a good fish.
Now, I noticed you don't use a net. Oh!
Lost him.
I didn't let him go. He took off.
Well, that's okay,
He got out of Dodge.
We've got lots in the box right now.
Are we going to move back up because we're in deeper water?
Yeah, let's go up and get on the mark.
Okay, Captain.
Okay, sounds good.
Do you want me to drive or you want to drive?
I'll drive.
Okay. Atlantic cod are amazing fish. I think they look beautiful. They usually have like a off green or brown color, and then they have darker spots and mottles all along their bodies. The head is very tapered. It almost reminds me of a walleye head. They have a small mouth in relationship to their head, and they don't have big teeth like a barracuda or a muskie or a pike, but they do have a lot of teeth. So you can't really lip them, you know, with bare hands. On this trip, I was using a glove to handle them. They're very slippery, so they're soft rayed. They don't have spines like some of the rock bottom fish that are on the west coast. So they're very easy to handle. And the one thing that's amazing is their flesh. They have a very white, soft flesh that is delicious. Now, cod are schooling fish. So if you locate cod in an area, there's usually many of them. And I'm not talking small schools. I'm talking about hundreds, even thousands. They seem to stalk their prey almost like a pack of wolves, but many wolves. And they pick areas where there's a relief coming up off the bottom. And that's where they feed very heavily. That's why this vertical jigging works so well for them. So once you hook one, as long as you can stay in the area, or in our case, we were using a GPS with our sonar, and we were able to see the track that we were drifting on. And we would go back up and fish the same area over and over again. And because they're schooling, they tend to school tightly. They don't disperse themselves over a large area. So one of the key things is to locate spots where they feed heavily in schools. The locals, for the most part, don't use electronics. Even if they're way offshore, they relate to islands and how far out they are in north, south, east, west direction. And they know where the actual shoals or the outcrops are. But today, with modern technology, it makes things a lot easier, but you still have to deal with the elements, with wind, with tide. So sometimes those can really make for interesting fishing. You know, I'm looking at these two lures and they look pretty simple. You know, this is like a slab. Probably weighs about 10 ounces. I'm gonna say close to a pound, which is 16 ounces. This one is about 4 or 5 ounces. You can see that they're both pretty thick, and they've got huge treble hooks. You know, when it comes to jigging on bottom, whether you're fishing down south, I do a lot of fishing down in Florida, and in the Gulf of Mexico, or in the Atlantic or Pacific. When you're bottom fishing, the fish aren't too fussy as to what you drop down. It's more the technique in that something is moving and looks like food. In the case of fishing here in Atlantic Canada for cod, when they have an opening, you're fishing anywhere from about 100 to 500 foot of water. So you have to have a jig that sinks pretty fast, and that means weight. The reason being, most of the time, is that the tides are pretty strong, and because you're offshore, and the only other landmark when you start heading east of Newfoundland is really Europe, you know, you can get a lot of wind. Even today we had to contend with wind. So by using a heavier jig, you can get down a little bit quicker and you can hold. We found that we could only hold our position drifting over a spot for about 3 minutes. That doesn't sound like long, but that's enough to hook into a nice fish every time. And we would get most of the time double headers. The key is to use a jig that's heavy enough, but also that's pretty flat. that doesn't have a lot of fluttering action. Because when you're dealing with current, you want the jig to get down there and stay near the bottom, and also a good size hook, so that if you hook into a big fish, you won't have any issues getting it up and into the boat. You know, vertical jigging, to me, is very active because you're constantly working your rod, and boy, when a fish hits, you know, a lot of times you think you have the bottom, especially if it's the big one. You got to keep the pressure on and get them up, no matter whether they're big or small, because a lot of times if you stop because of this heavy weight, the weight can actually work against the hook and the fish can flip off. From having fished in Newfoundland on previous trips with Glenn Meadus, I learned a lot from him. So he had some spots that were 2-3 miles off the coast and some as far as 20. The one thing that all the different locations had in common was structure. Now, I'm not talking about structure like back home, you know, where you're fishing a little bit of a break. I'm talking about structure that's where the water is about 400 or 500 feet deep, and you get these pinnacles that come up, almost like a ridge. Sometimes they are ridges, sometimes they're almost like plateaus underwater. And the cod aren't always on top. Sometimes they're on top, sometimes they're right on the breaks, where it goes from the shallower water, let's say 70, 80 feet, down to about 200 feet. Where the cod will be located on the structure will depend greatly on the bait fish that they're feeding on. If they're feeding on schools of suspended capelin, they'll be close to the top of the pinnacles or plateaus. If they're feeding for fish that are near the bottom, where the kelp is only growing a foot or two off the bottom, they'll be looking for crabs and smaller immature fish. They could even be some of the sculpins that are down there, and even smaller cod. You know, I've had the pleasure of working with Glenn Meadus and his Seabreeze boats, I'm going to say for almost 20 years. We started off using a 19-foot Seabreeze that we did many TV shows and fished in the Great Lakes, especially Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. And I was so impressed with the way the boat performed, especially in rougher water, and how fuel efficient it was. For example, you can put 60 horsepower on a 19-foot Seabreeze boat, and it'll probably do about 25, 30 miles an hour. And it'll be so fuel efficient. You control with that motor, or you can go fast getting from spot to spot. Then in the last few years, ever since I started doing the Here's the Catch television series, we stepped up and we went to one of his new boats, a 20-foot Pro Sports, which has an amazing hull that allows you to go into 10 inches of water if I'm doing flats fishing and casting close to the mangroves, or to go 30+ miles offshore. Handles the rough water very, very well. Then we also got a 23-foot Seabreeze, which is ideal for going miles offshore, even if the water's rough, up to 30, 40, 50 miles. And with a 63-gallon tank, I can do almost a 170-mile round trip. Did you know that you can carry your rods onto the plane?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
On
and
the
I
plane
put them
itself?
in the
Wow.
overhead, because in the overhead, there's gaps. You can actually go up to 5.5 feet, no
Okay,
problem.
perfect.
So I had the reels on there. You can't have the lures on there, though.
No.
But in the past, I've always put them in a rod tube. So I thought that was great.
Yeah.
You know, because you know they're not going to get damaged, and you don't got to pay for an extra piece of baggage, right?
Right.
You be careful now.
There you go.
As soon as you get that hook out, I'm dropping it back down. You know that, right?
Oh, yes.
This is kind of like charter fishing, you know, where you go out with the captain and they get you into one fish after the
That's
other.
right, yeah.
You're doing good. You're doing good. Cod are a very interesting fish, and I had the chance to observe what they behave like in their natural environment right down on the bottom using the Go Fish Cam camera. And one thing I've noticed is that, number one, they stick very close to the bottom, and when you drop a jig down, they kind of go over to it. They don't just smash it, and they look at it, sometimes swim around, and we had more of the cod hitting the camera because it was dark, black, and they were just curious than actually hitting the jig. Now, you don't need a fast presentation like speed jigging to get these fish to hit. Literally, if you just have your jig in a vertical position and they see the pattern that's on the jig, they'll come up and they'll grab it, usually where the treble hook is. Sometimes they're so thick that they're foul hooked. And here in Newfoundland, even a foul-hooked fish can be kept. You're not supposed to be releasing fish, so you're supposed to keep the fish that you catch until you have your limit and then go back in. You can come back out if you want.
Another one on.
Man, can you believe this?
Unreal.
Non-stop action.
I turn around for a second, you got another fish on.
You know what this is gonna do, eh? Build up a really big appetite. What are we gonna have for supper? Hot dogs?
Traditional Newfoundland fish and brews.
I like it. You know, it makes it interesting. We've got a bit of a chop out here. This is nice weather.
Just look around. This is Newfoundland.
Yeah, look at, for someone that's not used to it, look at this nice fish.
Oh, another nice
They're all
fish.
so beautiful, man.
Beauties.
I don't know if you stop rolling. I like the way they're rolling the line. They just roll and roll and roll. Wow. They're almost perfect, too,
you
to
just
grab.
barely had them,
Yeah,
look.
yeah.
Just by his jowl.
Perfect to grab, eh? The way they're made. So I let you work with the fish. I drop it back down. I'm taking advantage of the full experience. Look at the bottom is covered with cod.
Covered with cod, yeah.
Yeah.
Full.
You know, I think if people from Eastern, like not Eastern, but Central Canada,
Yeah.
would know how good the fishing here is. No,
Yeah.
they come, more of them would come. Now on the plain, there were quite a few people, but they were mostly Newfoundlanders
Yeah.
that lived in different parts of Canada. What was that? Was that a fish interruption?
Yeah.
They're coming here just for the opening, eh?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, to catch the cod.
Yeah.
And take them home with them.
One after another.
Yeah, I gotta take a break. My shoulder. Do you have insurance? Like, what's that called? That tendon up here, you know?
Yeah,
I
on
know
your
it's kind
shoulder.
of sore.
It's just non-stop here though now. We're right on the fish. You get on a patch of fish and that's the way it is.
The bottom is
One
covered.
after another.
The bottom is covered. You know, as I was saying, for someone that's not used to it, this up and down here, the roly-poly, okay, I can hold the rod now because
Okay,
it's
there you
here.
go.
Look it, they're all quality fish. There.
All right, we get another one
We're
now?
not golfing. Just so you know, when we go in, we're not golfing today, okay?
We'll be cooking and eating fish.
Canadian sport fishing has been brought to you in part by Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Yamaha, Conquer Outdoors. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Bait Cloud, bring the fish to you. Easy Docker, docking made easy. I think they're gorgeous.
They are.
Here, let me just... Fishy smooch. Come on. A little salty, eh? You know what? How are we doing, Captain? Are we still on the spot? Oh, we're off it. 84 feet of
Then we
water.
go back up again.
Okay. Captain, take me to
Perfect.
your fish.
Sounds good. Let's do it.